Kurt Warner now at the NFL Network. 3 Super Bowl appearances, over 300 passing yards in each. He was a big game player. So, I'm watching Zach Wilson, and I would keep playing him. Saleh's a young coach, and young coaches tend to think if they get fired, they'll never get another job. And, and it's like, listen, Robert's done a good job. The GM's done a good job. Nobody's getting fired here, but it is hard to find great quarterbacks. You went undrafted. There's just Tom Brady got drafted deep. So did Joe Montana. It's hard because the position is intelligence, it's toughness, it's guile. It's a lot of different stuff. So Zach Wilson, my concern was, Kurt, out of college, I said he's a little undisciplined. It's a little showboat. And he relies on the spectacular. And as you well know, you got to hit 8-yard curls in this league. You got to do a lot of boring stuff. You've looked at film on him. What do you see? You broke it down. What do you see that worries you or you like with Zach?
Well, here's the thing. First thing we have to remember that he didn't play a lot in college. So when you watched him in college, they had a very simple offense. And a lot of the offense was drop back, pick a guy, and make one of your special throws. And he had that great season where we know he's got the physical ability. We know he can make great throws. You get into the NFL, and there's a lot more going on, whether it's in your scheme or whether it's what the defenses are doing. You've got to see a lot more. You can't just drop back and pick a guy and throw it. So it's a young guy that hasn't played a lot of football that's learning the game. You see some good moments, but, there's some technique issues. There's some things that he's not seeing. And so, you sit back and you go, oh, well, do we want to decide that he can't ever be that guy in year 2? Or is he just a young guy that has a long way to go, and we've got to stick through this, and we've got to keep teaching him, and we've got to keep, harping on those things to see if he can be that guy. Now, Colin, I was in a situation in New York when I got benched in New York for Eli Manning. We were a playoff team at the time. If the season ended at, after 9 weeks, we would have been in the playoffs. And so I know a lot of people are looking at this Jets situation and saying, well, they're a playoff team. They're a team, that with a quarterback that's playing at a high level could be in the playoffs. The Giants, Coach Coughlin, made that decision saying, we might be a playoff team, but we're not a championship team yet. And what we want our quarterback to be championship material when our team becomes championship material. And then when we coincide those two things, we believe we can win championships. You fast forward a couple years, that's exactly what they did with Eli Manning in New York. We went 1-6 the rest of the season that year with Eli because he wasn't ready. He wasn't the better quarterback, but they had the vision to go, but we need to stick with this thing so everything comes together, and then we have that chance to compete and win championships. And I believe that's the question right now with the Jets. Where do you think this team is? Are you playing for now? Are you playing for getting to the playoffs this year because you haven't been there in a while? Or are you saying we have got to get this thing ready for when everything comes together? And do we believe Zach can be that guy? We got to give him more time. We got to plan through the struggles and hope that he becomes, like an Eli Manning.
It's interesting. I like Jimmy Garoppolo, but I see some limitations, injuries. They don't throw the ball up the sideline. He doesn't have your arm. He doesn't. That's okay. But boy, Kurt, that team likes him. They're buddies. They trust him, and they win 75% of the games he starts. And he's a free agent. And they waste, they 3 first-round picks on Trey Lance. What do you do if this team gets to a Super Bowl? Win or lose? This team loves, those guys love Garoppolo. Where do you go if you're the Niners?
Well, I think this is the age-old question, Colin, is can you find one of those other guys? And when I say the other guys, Patrick Mahomes, the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, the Josh, those guys that are head and shoulders above, everybody else that can stand alone and can win games for you with their right arm. There's just not very many of them. Right. There's just not very many of them out there. And so that becomes the question is it good enough that you've got a quarterback that wins games, gets you to championship games, and gets you to Super Bowls, and you say, but he probably can't carry us in a Super Bowl and win that game for us. We're going to have a good team around him.
Yeah.
And if he plays at his highest level, we can win a championship. We can play at that level, but we probably can't just turn the ball over to him and ask him to throw the ball 35 or 40 times and win games. And that's what it always comes down to with most of these teams because you don't have that guy. You've got to have a really good team, and you've got to find a better than average quarterback that can get you there, and you hope in those moments he plays his best football. That to me is what you have with Jimmy Garoppolo. And, you can discard him and say, yeah, he's above average, but he's not that guy, and continue to try to find that guy. And if you do, man, now we're in great shape. But I just don't think there's very many of those guys out there. And, it would be hard for me. And I even said it, going into this, it would be hard for me to not have Jimmy in there as my quarterback unless I knew that I had a guy that was going to be a special talent, because you're right. Jimmy does a lot of things well. He makes a lot of big throws. Yes, he's going to make some mistakes. He makes a lot of big throws, and you've got a locker room that believes when he steps on the field, they can win with him. And that to me is half the battle in the NFL.
Well, you're one of the few people that can break down film of Aaron Rodgers, have a strong opinion, and not only are you right, but, you're a Hall of Famer, right? Like, guys like me can say stuff all day. So you broke down some film on Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. I wish he would have spent time in the offseason developing relationships with kids from small schools like Nevada. He didn't. His choice. I get it. What are you seeing with Aaron? Concerns, progress? Where are you at now with Aaron this year?
Well, I think there's a lot of things going on. And Colin, I'm just not a guy that wants to buy into, the national narratives that go out there, that in the Detroit game, Aaron throws some interceptions. And so automatically, it's a bad game for Aaron. I actually didn't think that was a horrible game for Aaron. He made a couple bad throws, but I thought that game was as much about the guys around him as it was about him. Now we come back to this Titans game, and I thought the Titans game was as much about Aaron as it was anybody else, that he missed throws that he's got to make. And I played the position, and I understand when you've got pieces around you that aren't doing exactly what you want them to do, or you don't trust them completely. It's hard to play the position, but you still have to play the position. I always say you've got to trust guys around you, even when they don't give you a reason to trust them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to struggle at this position, whether it's the offensive line. I'm not sure they're going to block my guys or block their guys, so I'm going to start looking at the rush. You're going to lose as a quarterback. You start looking at your receivers and go, well, I'm not sure he's going to be where he's supposed to be. I'm going to hold the football a little bit longer and just wait to see. You're going to be lost in this business. So I see a lot of stuff going on with this team. I don't think Aaron's played his best football. I don't think they've played their best football around him. I don't believe they've given him a lot of guys that have, garnered his trust in situations that have created opportunities to be open. So I just think there's a lot of stuff going on. Everybody deserves some blame in this. As a great quarterback, you've got to take the blame where you say, yeah, you know what, I hesitated here because I didn't trust that guy. That's on me. I started looking at the pass rush here when I didn't trust the guys up front. That's on me. I missed a throw here. And then there's other times you got to be able to say, hey, guys, I need you to do this better. And that's just what I see with Green Bay is I just don't think they're a really good football team right now. And we can scrutinize Aaron Rodgers and say he hasn't played his best football. We can scrutinize the wide receivers. I think it is a combination of a whole bunch of things that they're just not a very good offense right now.
By the way, you can see Kurt Warner, who is aging very, very well. You look like you're a best-selling author on mystery novels. You're aging so well. NFL Game Day morning, Thanksgiving Day edition, Thursday, 10 Eastern. I'll be watching on the NFL Network. The guys over there do great work. We always appreciate the Hall of Famer stopping by. Thank you, Kurt. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.